what is the definition of sexual liberation? Well, it is being free from sexual mores or inhibitions that are considered restrictive. So basically saying that you take the shame out of being shamed for your sexual choices, your sexual partner, when, where, or how often you choose or desire to have sex with someone. So that was basically what that was for, but also as a form of protection to not be forced into sexual situations or even be coerced in any type of way whatsoever. So what is a sexually liberated woman? Well, it denounces societal expectations and norms of proper womanly behavior and advocates openness in sexuality. So I want to start with the first video, just a guy kind of giving his opinion on how he feels about sexual liberation, and then just followed up by a question for y'all. So,
at the risk of sounding like I'm mansplaining, let me clue the women in on what it means to be sexually liberated. To be truly sexually liberated, you have to not only own the act of having sex and what you do with your body, but also you need to own the why. I mean, in all sincerity, if you're just out here giving the box up just to prove a point, you're doing it for the wrong reasons and you're going to end up hurting yourself. If you're not doing this for your own pleasure, you're going to regret it. That's why you see so many guys, when they finally found a good woman and they've settled down, they realize that they were doing this for the wrong reason. Because some of y'all really ain't sexually liberated. You're just trying to overcome some type of sexual trauma that's gone unresolved. That's not healthy. Go get some therapy. Just out here collecting bodies and not enjoying yourself. So remember, it's not wise to use sex as a weapon, and especially as a coping mechanism. Be safe out there.
who wants to answer that question first? Do some women misinterpret sexual liberation?
I mean, I think a lot of women probably don't think that far into it nowadays. I mean, unfortunately, maybe they should educate themselves more than they do. But when you talk about the girls on OnlyFans or the girls on the hub, that sort of thing, it's not, to them, I don't even know that it's an act of liberation anymore, or like it's just a way to make money, or they're there because they didn't have the right kind of upbringing and they don't value themselves maybe as much as they should. And that's why they end up doing what they do.
Carlos, how do you feel about it? Do you feel it is misused by some women?
Yeah, in some cases, because sometimes and you referring to you referring to the overly part, right? So with that, it can be taken out of context sometimes, but most of the times, it deal with self-esteem issues. Most females that are like that, wanting attention, and self-esteem issues, and that they probably, and for me, I look at it, probably it happened with their parents, because it starts there, and the lack of attention there, it only just goes into adulthood and relationships and all of that, and so they find themselves searching for that attention. So what has been created in today's society is attention when you expose yourself, outwardly or whatnot. So that can bring that behavior, and only increases it, especially when they get their attention that they never received, before.
Right. And to answer that, I do think that there are a particular group of women who do misinterpret the meaning of what it means to be sexually liberated. I do think that it is dressed up as something else, but they are trying to deliver it to you as the actual meaning. Especially, like I said, on social media, This day and age, it's all about attention. And I think that women don't realize that you can have 100 million followers on your Instagram, on your Twitter, on your Facebook. Well, not on Facebook, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can have a massive group of followers, but why are they really following you if all they're doing is scrolling your page and all I'm seeing is you in a sexual manner for the most part? Even your influencers, you look at your influencers, they get paid to promote products, right? And so now they're using their body to sell the product because they're receiving an incentive for selling, these companies' products. Now, if you're not, obviously, like for instance, we have Savage Fenty X, which is a lingerie model by Rihanna. That would make sense why you would see someone in their lingerie, right? That's kind of the entire point of Savage. It's lingerie, but every single product that some of these influencers are promoting has nothing to do with sex, but they incorporate sex in it in order to push the product, to get their followers to buy this product, right? Just basically just making unconscious decisions to buy something. And so in that form, like I said, there's teenagers on these apps. It is not our duty as people who are not their parents to protect what they see or to protect them from the world. That is the responsibility of their parents. But the problem is unfortunately these kids, if they got a cell phone, they're getting on there anyway. And they're seeing this. So if you're seeing an influencer, oh, look, they've got 5 million followers. And I mean, looks like if I do this kind of stuff, maybe I can do that too. You know what I mean? And I think it's misleading these young girls. And that's a huge problem.
I'll just jump in and say it's not just the young women.
Right. It's
I'm telling you, when I go down through TikTok or I'm watching Instagram Reels, whatever. Reels isn't as bad, but TikTok's pretty bad with it, And then I think about like Snapchat, like the OnlyFans girls that are using Snapchat as a hustle to try and draw you into their OnlyFans. I think about how impressionable I was as a teenage boy and sort of how difficult back when I was a teenager, how difficult it was to really get access to women, naked or nude or whatever. You had Playboy, which you had to be 18 years old to get. So if you had a Playboy, it was because somebody older bought it and you found it. And there were VHS tapes, right? But we didn't have access to pornography at our fingertips at all times of the day. As soon as we get, they're around computers, devices all the time. All it takes is one kid that knows the hub to tell the other kid. Now all the kids in that class are introduced to pornography, and that's not good for their developing brains. Their hormones are at peak. Their hormones on teenagers have more testosterone than they'll ever have in their entire life. They peak at like 19 years old, but it's on the rise, right? It's on the rise when you're a teenager. And so your body's changing. And the impact that it has on young men, I think it is severe. I don't think it's good. And I know that studies show the amount of dopamine that just men in general, I can't even imagine what the studies would be on a teenage boy, but just men in general, when they watch pornography, it gives them hits of dopamine. If you study it across 5, 6, 7 hours, these levels of dopamine are as high as drug use. And it creates a scenario where you're completely unproductive as a human being, because if you're watching this stuff every day of your life, when you're not watching it, you're still thinking about it. Like, that's all you're thinking about. So how can you focus on going to football practice or basketball practice or band practice or whatever a kid is supposed to be doing? How can you really focus on the playbook or the math problem or whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing at that time? How do you really focus on that if all you can think about is pornography, right? So,
Yeah.
it's not just the girls, but I agree with you.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
see,
Right.
that's and that goes to that because, like I said, if you're putting it out there, then getting mad at the response, which doesn't make sense to me, it's because obviously when you're getting dressed in the morning or at night, whatever the case is, it requires you to put on clothes, and you choose to put on less clothing or more, overtly sexual clothing, right? That's showing everything you got. And then you post that on social media or you go out into public spaces, perception is reality. Like no one's thinking about, oh, I wonder how smart she is, or how many
Absolutely.
degrees does she have, or is she good at math? Like no one's thinking about that. No one's even thinking how great of a person you might be. The first
Right.
thing they're thinking is sexual activity because you're showing them everything that you have. Now, should a person sexualize another human being, especially without them like even initiating the behavior or showing that they're okay? Absolutely not. But unfortunately, people do it all the time. And there's nothing you really can do to stop it. That's a personal issue. If that person recognizes the problem, yeah, you got to fix it. But are they really thinking about fixing it? And you're walking around and, you got double D's and I can see them through your shirt, because it's mesh. I'm not thinking about, being a gentleman. I'm thinking about, wonder if I can get you in my car, get you home or to
Right.
a hotel, wherever. So it does happen that way.